Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Nav.it Files. I'm Maya here with Erin. Hi, Erin.
Hi Maya, hi everyone.
We are so excited to be approaching the end of the week and thought that we might do another follow-up on partnerships and the conversation that we had the other day around prenups. But before we get to that, we, of course, need to end the week with a real talk on the week.
Yes.
So, Erin, do you have a real talk?
Maya. Yes. So we have this wonderful new community kind of social manager, social media, I guess, content manager. And she has been kind of coaching me on all things digital. And so one of the things she did was like, go clean up your followers feed on Instagram because I was kind of complaining, like, I'm not getting, like, I know people are posting on a daily basis, but I'm not seeing the content that I usually see or that I like. Blah, blah. She's like, go clean up your followers. You've like over followed things and see if you get that gets it down. So I did that, and it was so cool because now I'm actually, you can only be on social media. I self-care. I try and limit it. It's for work. I don't do it too late at night. But it is, there's an inspiration to it. It's beautiful, and it's something that we have to do for work. So now I'm getting content that I'm actually really interested in and is a value add in my life rather than just a time suck. So that feels really
cool. I really love that. And when you first told me about this, I was thinking about followership, just like you always think like, oh, the person I haven't spoken to since like high school or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But I think you're right, especially in our world where we're inundated, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but we're inundated by the women's empowerment cloud.
Language. Yes, there's a lot.
Yes. And so what happens is it's all of these media companies vying for their own voice.
Yes.
But if you follow all of them, it feels like this is what we have to be talking about too, and we have to be talking about it right now. And it's like, right. It's been hard for us. It's been hard for me at least to like really okay, but this isn't actually going to impact this isn't necessarily our voice. Like, we don't necessarily need to take a stance on every single thing that happens in pop culture every single day. Like, no. We need to focus on selling our product and then figuring out, what tidbits of information we can talk about within the space to obviously gain followers, but also just like stay relevant, right?
Totally. And
my whole feed is now all of these brands. And so like the only time I get a reprieve is like going through stories, because the stories are obviously mostly so
human and fun. Totally. No, I think, that's your job as a CMO to like keep us on track of like our KPIs for everyone that's not, key performance indicators are not, I hate all these acronyms, right? There are acronyms in every industry. I've been across 3 industries now, and they all have their own little specific, anyways. So
KPIs are across industry. It's just,
they're not in academic research or public health.
I think they're in public health. I always spoke about KPIs at like Minga.
That's health. That's health tech. That's very different.
No, not at Bridge. Like at my foundation, we always talked about KPIs.
Because around marketing, though? Around what?
Yeah, because foundations are now marketing.
Right. But so like I was like CDC is not worried about KPIs. They're worried about mortality rates and morbidity rates. So like,
yeah, but those are their own KPIs. Like,
right. But they would never call them that. Yes, you're right. That's essentially the same. Everyone is about this. It's the way people use the language.
Yeah. Okay,
fine. Yes. Okay. So no, we digress. The point is, where were we?
Cleaning up your Instagram feed so you actually like live a life.
Oh, what your job is, and is so fun to do and you're good at, is keeping us on track to like Instagram is not our KPI is app downloads and people using our app and people's behavior in our app, not like if we have a pretty Instagram feed to some degree. You know what I mean? So that's nice.
Well, I want an Instagram that's on brand, not on trend.
Yes, that's perfect. It's a great way to say it.
Thank you.
Okay, so are we talking?
Yeah, so we're kind of doing a two-parter, not necessarily on we'll go into the prenup conversation as like a little bit of a recap. We talked about prenups last week, not last week, couple days ago. And I think, as Erin
Sorry.
or appropriately mentioned, that prenups have become more of a thing because women obviously have more access to wealth than they ever have before. But I think also there's this level, from both genders or whatever kind of partnership you're in and whatever that looks like, there's just more of an equitable balance in your home life than the generations before us.
Equal participation.
Yeah, there's equal participation. Totally. Therefore, there's equal incentive to feel like you're protected going into a partnership.
Totally. And I actually think, so this goes to the greater kind of conversation about marriage. Mm-hmm. That also is what's amazing is the stereotypes are shifting for men to participate in all places, like at home, in the responsibility of the caretaking, in, management of the household, as much as women are now able to access working outside the home. So there's like this beautiful, shift that's occurring, that we don't need the stereotypes anymore. So now really when it comes down to, now people have access across these kind of stereotyped roles. Mm-hmm. Now it's about partnership. It's like literally like hashing it out together. Like, okay, this is everything we have to do. Who wants to do what? And that's beautiful. That's only one generation.
Totally. It's like, I always talk about this, and like, I feel like I talk about John at nauseum at this point, but I really think it's fun that we have like that equitable dynamic where it's like, we know Sundays are like chore days like everybody else, but like, he's vacuuming downstairs, I'm vacuuming upstairs, like that kind of mentality. Like, he cooks, I clean,
yes,
up after, like everything from A to Z is equal. Yeah. And I think it allows, it's great for, from my perspective as a female who, traditionally has played different types of gender roles in the home, but at the same time, I think it allows for him to express different types of roles and different types of emotions in a much more free and open environment. Like, he didn't feel that innate pressure. Like, we had a great episode with our advisor, Jordan Wright, for the podcast, or last season 2, but episode 2 last week that launched, where he talked about like the value of having this like open communication and space, because men should no longer feel like all the pressure is on them to provide for their family. Like, that pressure is equal and united. And that's kind of why we're having the conversation of the prenup, right? It's like, also, if you do get divorced, like, you both still have to take care of the kid that you might have had, or the dog, or the plant, like, whatever you're sharing. So,
and I think that, so to that point of that partnership, it becomes, it's such a bonding and amazing opportunity in the partnership to really truly find, to build strength in the relationship, to like go deep, to not be surface level, right? Like, to really be able to kind of delve into yourselves and delve into the partnership, to find compromise, to talk about harder, more gritty things, and to be able to, and if there is that equality of like, okay, how do we share all this? Then when you do it over time, you build trust. And so maybe the prenup will never be needed, right? Because you're building this trust of like, we can weather these hard things together. We're a team. We're figuring this out together. And if I'm low, he'll bring me up. And, if I can't vacuum upstairs because I'm pregnant, he's not going to be bitter that he's going to go do it. You know what I mean? Like, you just build this team. Like, we come from sports, like that power in that team, and when you have a shared and common goal, right, of living your life together and figuring out who plays what role and being able to switch those roles around, it really does benefit people in the long run.
Totally. And I think it's a level too, like, again, with the prenup conversation, it's a level of accountability. It's like, you are accountable for what you bring into a relationship, but it's also, you're accountable for growing and adapting in thought and like mindset and however you develop as a human being, but like doing so, within your partnership. Like, when you enter one business partnership, personal partnership with yourself, like, you're accountable and responsible for making this thing develop and grow. Like, together, really. I mean, you don't want to get divorced, like you don't want to break up, and you should go into that and that prenup with that understanding rather than like the negative of, okay, well, we are going to break up, so we need these things in place.
Right. No, I don't think of prenups. I think if it's done from a healthy place of more like financial planning, and this is what we talked about in the last episode a little bit, but if you're thinking of it from a non-emotional place and purely from a like business management place or a wealth management place, then you can really have a conversation of like, does it make sense for us? Does it not make sense? And I've seen this, I have various parents that are of a certain age that have remarried, that it like, so when you're young and you don't have that much wealth, then it's like, okay, like it's a conversation to have. But when you get older and you've built a life and you have all these things and you have kids and they have kids, and it's a conversation of purely partnership. Like, this is what I'm bringing in, that's what you're bringing in, but this is the legacy I have, this is the responsibility I have, this is what I want to protect for what I built over the years and what I want to protect. How do you feel about that? Yes, good, okay, great. And then it's just a place where you start with a level of trust and protection for yourself and for the people that you love. So yeah.
I love it. So I think we went kind of high level with this conversation, and I have a question that I know has been asked and posed to us multiple times really before, of what would your advice, Erin, be for women or men, anyone who has been asked by their partner, like, to come into their business relationship? So for instance, like, if a partner of yours wants to invest in your company, or if you're thinking about taking them on as a co-founder or starting to work together, like, how do you mesh in maybe your prenup and your marital contracts with your business contracts?
Such a good question. So this gets very complicated. I have this cat that's driving me crazy. Sorry. Like, I want to get
out. You had a cat.
I don't. I love my cousin. It's my cousin's.
Right. Okay.
So ouch. I'm not good with animals either. I don't want to like push her off. There. Okay. I know. I'm like
You guys have to, side note, like, Erin and her adorable son need to come to Sun Valley at least for his summer vacation, so we can expose him to like the beauty of a dog.
Oh my God, yes, you absolutely do. But give him the responsibility of like walking it and feeding it, and he's actually been really good with the cat.
I'm gonna pay Caden $5 a week, and he is going to take care of the puppy.
Yes. Oh, he would be over the moon.
Right.
Friends of ours got one, and now I have to hear about it all the time. Yes. Okay. So partnership. So again, it totally depends on the health of your relationship personally, and if that can transfer into a business partnership, and defined roles. I think that's really important. So if, for example, if you know your partner is a stressor about money, and also likes to have control, but is giving you money for your business and then isn't supposed to really be a part of it, just like invest. There is a really good heart-to-heart to have with yourself of, can this partner really manage that? Like, how does this partner deal with stress and money? How do I deal with stress and money? And what do we, are we willing to go down this path of there's enough to manage in a personal relationship. Can we also manage it in a professional relationship, and knowing that those two get very mixed together?
Yeah. I think it's a matter of like, how much do you bring home with you? I think that's a pretty good indicator of how a working relationship with each other.
Oh. And some people like rock it. I see, husband-wife businesses all over the place that just, it's smooth and it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Right?
I think but I mean, from a technical perspective, like, is there ever a time where you go back to, say, the prenup that you drafted to write them in, from their business, maybe at your co-foundership or whatever, that you then write into your prenup?
So prenups, like, only,
I feel like that wasn't clear. So for instance, say John and I say we take on John at Nav.it.
Yes. Yes, great.
Say we take on John and Nav.it and we have a prenup. Do I then, like, is it written into the prenup that one of us leave the business if we break up?
No. Oh, no. Oh, I see. No, no.
What could that do from
Oh, my friend, let me talk about
a company perspective? I mean, there's so many examples where this has happened before, right? Where the romantic side of a partnership breaks up, but they
Yeah. So this is the beauty of the legal system. In the divorce, you would, so there are two things. The relationship that you have in the business partnership has nothing to do with your marriage.
Sure, but unless you write it in, like if you could, in theory, you could write in a clause about, what happens to your business if you dissolve the marriage.
Right, but then that's clear. Then whatever the clause says is you get him out, or he stays in, or he loses. It's almost like a vesting schedule. Maybe he loses all the equity for like a 3-year period or something. Like, this will
could be best if you're vesting for 3+ years.
You have a 10-year vesting schedule to be on your best behavior.
Oh my goodness. I bet some prenups have stuff like that. Because you hear about these, owners of these then what turn into publicly held companies, and right. Their spouses who are no longer their spouses have a certain level of equity in the company because right. They dealt with them.
Wrote that in. Yeah, well, I mean, that also tends to a specific example like that would be in the divorce. That's all negotiated in the divorce often. So it's harder if you're, well, I don't know. Like, I mean, you have the examples I can think of are more the wife was with the husband for his first 10 years of building X major company. They divorce, but in the divorce agreement, she negotiates that she gets some percentage of equity or something because of that time spent. The 10 years she suffered and was poor and was, feeding him in his garage.
Right, exactly.
Get them some sweat equity in that. Yeah. So then he goes public 10 years later, she gets a piece.
Right. I love that. And last question to end on a high note. Let's end on a high note.
Yes.
Should you file, what about joint filing is my question.
Ooh.
So if you get married.
Yeah.
Or whatever your partnership is, because in some states you don't actually have to be legally married. You are considered basically married if you
live in partners. Yeah. Life partners, I think it's called.
Yeah. So John and I are actually were considered spouses in Idaho.
Yeah, that's great. And that actually
we don't file together. And so my question is should we start?
So there are benefits to both. It really depends on your income, separately and together. So I think part of it is, you need to talk to a good accountant, but if you put so joint filing does not matter in terms of asset mingling, right? Sure. So if you have a prenup and you are filing together, it doesn't matter. Like your money's your money, his money's his money. You're just filing together as the entity of your marriage.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah. And again, prenup is pre-marriage assets, so you also have to decide what you're doing with the assets you're generating during
your net worth, basically.
Yeah. But so the biggest question, you get tax deductions, you get child credits, you get all these things with in the world of taxes, and sure. So the key question though is if you joint file, do you get enough deductions to cover whatever possible extra taxes you are bumping up to because your tax bracket goes up.
Your tax bracket goes up if you file together.
Yeah, because I mean it's
right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because you have more money, you're pulling your money. That's
good to know.
Yeah, it's really good, and even no matter what level of socioeconomic status you are, you should at least get a free consultation with some accountant to ask those questions.
Yeah, and I think you can start to there are a ton of online free calculators too.
Yes, true. Good point.
So do that first, and then like you said, free consultation. Also plug in for that when you do have a consultation with divorce attorney or
or accountant.
in or whatever. Do your homework first so that you can get the most out of that free consultation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good pride.
Come in with your questions. Yeah. And I think so I mean, I could tell you everything to ask a divorce. That's a divorce attorney is a whole nother conversation.
Write an article on what to ask your divorce attorney.
I will. That's fine. Yes.
Let's do it. Yeah.
It's a long list. And it's very specific to the person. But anyways, yes. But the accountant, it's all about maximizing your deductions and minimizing your taxes. Those are the two questions. So how do you do that, and what's your situation? And they should ask you questions about your situation.
Right. I love it. Well, I feel like we just packed in a whole lot of topics. It was very like qualitative and fun to kind of talk about. There weren't a lot of KPIs mentioned there.
God.
Well, we hope you all have an awesome weekend and some fun plans ahead, and we will talk to you again next week. Thanks so much. Bye.